So yeah, this is sort of switched on. So this is what I believe is that you can distill entrepreneurship into habits. And it's almost like, for me, entrepreneurship is not a personality trait. It's something we've all got. It's not some people have got, some people haven't. We're all born with creativity hardwired into our DNA. So what I believe is that if you change your behavior, if you do certain things, you actually behave more entrepreneurially without even realizing it, and more creatively. So just going through, I think it's meant to be 8 habits, but it's actually 6 habits. I've distilled it to for the purpose of today. The first sort of takeaway habit I've got is stepping into your customer's shoes. So as I mentioned for this one, I was my own customer, and I never thought that actually, I thought you don't start businesses as a customer, but I didn't realize what a strong position you are when you become your own customer as much as you can. I find this idea is actually genuinely becoming your customer. The problem is when our businesses get established, we have this thing of, we love our customers, but we don't really mean what we say. And we had this yesterday actually, a lot of people said at the beginning when they start, you're actually really close to your customer. But if you find as your business grows, you almost get more separated from your customer. You're not so in their lives, not so under their skin. And without realizing, as businesses grow, as we get more established, just day to day, you sort of almost start treating customers like an alien. What you want versus the customer. And I definitely found that at Coffee Republic. When we had a head office, at the beginning we were all our own customers, but once we got a head office, it was very much us, the head office, us, our goals as a company, versus them, the customer. As if sort of customers were some sort of body of aliens you could sell your product to, like you had to sort of fool and cajole. And it's just really important that kind of coming back, reconnecting again with your customer. And that's what you need, is this word empathy. With your customer. It's sort of almost a virtual reality of climbing into their mind to see it from their perspective. And so often we're in our own minds when we deal with customers. Again, with iTunes, how did Apple come up with iTunes? Steve Jobs sort of, when I read his book, I was always curious how they came up with iTunes, thinking, was it some sort of market research? And he just said, listen, I was a music buff. There were 20 people at Apple that were music buffs. We just wanted to carry our music libraries with us. So we figured if we wanted it, we figured others would want it too. So much more subjective in a way. At IKEA, who I work a lot with, they say they want to actually get into the pillow between their customers and see what their thoughts are, what they discuss, what occupies them. So that's that. You want to be that intimate, have such an intimate knowledge of your customer that you're actually wanting to be there, like between the two pillows. It's an extreme, but that is what they say at IKEA, and that's why, they're successful, and they kind of always get into the psyche like that. Because I think marketing is giving people things they don't even know they want. That's why you got to second guess, because if you just keep looking at your customers, whereas when you step into their shoes, you anticipate needs that they don't even know they have, in a way. And for that reason, that's why I kind of don't really believe in market research. For me, market research is just, it's good maybe for historical stuff you've done, but it's not going to give you new insights. Because if you think about it, the same market research report you read, a lot of your competitors will read it as well. So there's no substitute for doing this sort of stuff yourself. Basically, Henry Ford, the car maker, before he made the first Model T Ford, people said, well, don't you want to ask people if they're actually going to use a car? Why don't you ask, have you done a customer survey? And Henry Ford's answer was, I think that's the sort of danger, really, of asking your customers, because often they don't know. So it's for you to anticipate. Innovations happen not from customers saying, I want that, but from people putting themselves in customers' shoes and saying, as a customer, I want that. And the same with Apple. Again, how does Apple come up with these genius ideas? No, it's not because of market research or something amazing. They just figure out what they want. And the way to, I think, step into your customer's shoes is to get out of the office. Because it's, we get so stuck at the office. This word Toyota has, go see for yourself. And the problem is, as you get busy, you sort of forget businesses start, when you start a business in a funny way, you're actually out there because you're not really busy with like paperwork and stuff because you're sort of thinking of the idea. But as you kind of get busy, you sort of forget about your business. You're just so into your routine of day-to-day admin work, the whole bureaucracy, the whole paperwork. And you're often sat there at that desk with that little dead cheese plant in the corner, which I'm sure everyone's got a cheese plant that's sort of slightly dead. And I think for me, that area is just not the place you're going to get your inspiration. And yet so many of us spend so many hours a day there and expect to actually come up with new ideas, expect to be creative. My thing is I went on the Circle Line. That was when I saw everything, when it just became so obvious to me. Oh my God, people are having such a horrible coffee experience. At Nike, can anyone guess where the head designer at Nike sends his people for inspiration? Running clubs, interesting. Adidas, another competitor, interesting. But it's not fresh enough, is it? It's just kind of other competitors get the same information. Well, this is where it is. The zoo. Because if you think about it, that is actually, there could be a lot of parallels. And have you guys seen those new sort of Nike shoes they have? I mean, not dissimilar to that duck's feet in a way. Do you know what I mean? So you never know where you're going to get your ideas from. And I think we all get so stuck in our competitors, the big giants, or what we do. Whereas creative ideas come actually completely away from what you're trying to. So think about what is not so obvious in your business, but where it could be analogous to your business in a way. Because stimulus in is ideas out. You sort of, creativity happens to you. Creativity is just there. But once you're out there, the way I see it is like when I'm out and about, if I'm in the retail business, I go to the supermarket, I almost feel I've got a recording light on. And I think people in business haven't got enough. When we get into business, we shut off our recording light and just think, day to day, I'm going to go back to the desk. But when you're always out there, you've always got to have your recording light on. And your brain picks things up subconsciously. I really believe that. And you've got to be careful of this royalty only ever smell fresh paint. I remember when we got bigger at Coffee Republic, visits to the stores, visits to customers, was all very rehearsed, and you don't really get the right impression. So, just want to make sure you don't make the sort of royal visits around your business because they're not the real ones. You get real insights when you visit it as a customer to see what it's like, when you visit your competitors as a customer, not as you, the business. The third habit, which again I mentioned already was important to being clueless. Do any of these phrases seem familiar to you? These are all the enemies of innovation, these phrases. This is all what stops innovation in established companies, and when your companies get bigger. It's what I call the expert trap. You get stuck by the status quo. The status quo is almost like cement. It sort of keeps you in. Again, sorry to keep mentioning Henry Ford. He was trying to make the conveyor belt go faster in the Ford factory. And he said, why can't this conveyor belt go faster? It's going too slowly. And all the people working on the conveyor belt said to him, listen, Mr. Ford, we have tried everything on that conveyor belt. There's absolutely no way it can go any faster. Believe me, we have worked, each of us have got about 30 years experience on this conveyor belt. Nothing, we've tried everything, there's no way it can go faster. Henry Ford's answer was, because we get stuck, in a way, without realizing it. I once read something, and I think it's so true. Our experience forms bars around us like a prison, without realizing it. Experience, what we see as rules, just form a bar around us. And just look at technology. Just look at how much our own mobile phones have changed. To what extent have we changed as much as that? I mean, not even by 10% we changed the way we work, the way technology has changed, the way we communicate with each other. So it's just a bit of unlearning is what you need to be clueless. You need to unlearn. Being kind of fresh is about unlearning those outdated habits. And I'm sure there are a lot of habits that we do the whole time that are actually completely out of date. This kind of Xerox, if you remember Xerox, the photocopy company, Xerox were so busy with their cash cow, which was photocopying, that they forgot about, and funny enough, their programmers came up with the first PCs. But Because Xerox just ignored it. They were like, oh, no, we're too busy with this cash cow. But it was a cash cow for now. It wasn't going to last. So it's a real change or die. And a lot of their programmers went off to Apple and Microsoft that was just kind of around the corner and developed actually Apple and Microsoft, the PCs there. So it's just, you're a huge danger if you just focus on what you've got, because what works now is not going to work in the future, and that is coming more and more true. The same thing, again, cluelessness is about asking the naive questions. This is, as you guess, a Polaroid camera. It was invented by someone called Edwin Land. Edwin Land, the way he came up with the idea for the Polaroid is he'd taken his 5-year-old daughter out to they were like hiking or something, and he kept taking pictures. And the 5-year-old daughter was like, Daddy, why can't I see these pictures now? And he was like, well, you can't, because I've got to go home and I've got to develop them and let it dry or whatever. She's like, no, but I want to see why? She asked why like 5 times, and then when he got home, he thought, okay, I'm going to find a solution to this. So it's funny enough, it's about asking the sort of why not, quite a few times in what you do in your business. Don't accept that this is not done, because just things change. And again, we get obsessed with the giant in front of us. Watch the maverick behind you, because the maverick is often clueless, is not restricted by all those rules that you and all your big competitors are restricted by. That's how they come in. The Googles of this world, they used to be mavericks. That's how they come in, and someone new will come in, basically. The fourth habit that I believe in, bootstrapping. You remember the picture of my cousins in New York, that one with their head sort of cut off the side. That was bootstrapping. And you need to bootstrap. And I think companies bootstrap at the beginning, but they don't enough later on. So bootstrapping is about the corporate traffic jam, what I call the corporate treacle. It's about somehow circumventing that. It's anything worth doing badly. Just try things. You got to have ideas and you got to make them happen. And the only way to do that is just by trying it on a small scale under the radar. Somehow in a Blue Peter way, I believe, too. It's just somehow make it to musical 5. And we can do that. It's about being resourceful. You guys know what this is? The first Dyson, yeah. I don't know. Can anyone guess about how many tries of that one? How many of these little prototypes he did until he got the final version that we saw? How many? Oh, I mean, yes. I mean, you're coming right at the high level. 5,000. So, I mean, I actually thought before I read this quote that he might have done like 5 or 6, or actually, in a way, I actually thought he actually invented the Dyson like that, like a little stroke of genius. He just came up with it. But no one else. There was sort of 5,000 prototypes, and actually, he came up with the idea in '79 was that first prototype, and we didn't actually hear about Dysons until '97. So people always underestimate this length of time it takes, and when you're struggling with something, you think it's only you, but it's not only you. Everyone goes through that. They just don't really talk about it as much. Until you get it right. And again, this is from Facebook. Move fast and break things. Done is better than perfect. You just try. The worst thing you can do, again, going back to that exercise, is sitting in that comfort zone of yours. Because it's just, you're not trying things. But once you go out, you might make mistakes, but actually you're doing something. And I really believe that the more I kind of, in a way, make mistakes, I just know that I'm eventually going to kind of come up with the right thing. But once you're sitting in that comfort zone, not doing anything, just doing everything you do every day, how could you expect things to change? Impossible. And again, you don't need lots of money to be creative. Lack of money, whatever economy we're living in now, actually makes you more creative. So it's no excuse for sort of not trying new things. My fifth one, notching up on no's. As you saw, we got 39 no's. The 40th said yes. This is the iPad. When the iPad came up, I'm sure many of you read the Steve Jobs book, so I'm repeating what's in the book, but the morning when the iPad came out, he got 800 emails from people saying this is a crap product. And these are people who actually knew Steve Jobs' email, so they were kind of pretty insiders that thought it was a crap product. So new ideas are always rejected. 217 rejections Howard Schultz of Starbucks got for getting a loan. So we got 39, he got 217, which is probably why he's a billionaire and I'm not. This is, again, 300 rejections, Walt Disney, for his little idea for the mouse. And this is actually my favorite one. 12 people said no to Harry Potter. So that actually means that J.K. Rowling would have sent the manuscript to 12 publishers. They would have taken time to read the manuscript and say, no, this is not worthy of publishing. So that is just, the 13th publisher finally said yes to her. So that's sort of no, and I believe this so strongly that I think if you're getting a no, It means you're operating out of your comfort zone. You're in the amber and red zones. And you just got to hear no's, because no means you're trying and you're pushing against that wall. You're pushing your barrier out. If you just feel you're getting a yes the whole time and you're not meeting with any resistance, it means you're not doing things right. You're just in a status quo, and eventually it's just going to kind of somehow or other, if you're not going forward, it's a treadmill. You're kind of going backwards, basically. So you've got to kind of persist until you get the no's. And the more no's I get, actually, I know I'm going to get closer to the yes, and I actually see that as a sort of healthy habit to get into. And my final habit is just taking 100% of yourself to work. As I said, sort of when I was a lawyer, I couldn't be myself. And finally, I found a career where I could be 100% myself. And so many of us, through routine, we actually start forgetting about taking all of ourselves to work. And the world we live in now, the world where a computer can basically do what you do, or they could actually outsource it to China or India much cheaper, the only USP you've got is yourself. Head, heart, personality, the whole thing. So that whole idea of coming in like a kind of corporate automaton doesn't work anymore. You need to bring all of yourself. So see on that graph to what extent you bring all of yourself, or just the work self. And the work self, frankly, a computer can copy, or they can outsource. So your USP is in bringing all of yourself, because that's what they can't, is your originality, your individuality, the unique approach you can have to what you do. And the great thing about bringing 100% yourself is that it's fun. The great thing about the world we live in is fun's not a form of entertainment. It's actually an important part of being creative and being entrepreneurial. Fun is an important part of life. And so these are basically my habits. And I genuinely believe that if you follow these habits as much as you can, and we all get into habits, we sort of don't do them, but I always try to remind myself of these habits and not forget as you get more and more established, as we get older. These are the habits that are going to kind of revitalize how you do business and bring back a bit of creativity into your day-to-day business life. Thank you very much. Thank you.